All right, we'll call this meeting to order at 5:02.
Yeah, so
You want to take it away?
I don't know. I mean, it's not very exciting language that we have. I just wanted you to have a copy of the draft zoning. I've been working with Jason and I will go to town council. And Krista did the starter draft. And then we've just been working really hard to find it into our existing bylaw and make cross references. And tomorrow at 2.
Nope.
Tomorrow at 2, I have a meeting with the Independence Mall architects along with Jason to kind of answer the questions we have. Like the main thing right now is the building height. You know, I don't think it should be 55, but I don't think it should be. I think they gave us 35 or 30. And it's a 4-story building, so that's not enough height. 30 feet is not enough height for 4 stories, so I'm thinking maybe it's 40, 45 feet, but we'll just have to get them to.
What are they up there now at the mall? What are the apartments? You know?
They'll know, I don't know. They have all,
Because they're 4 stories.
yeah, I know, they're gonna build to that
That's
framework.
That makes sense. Just
I mean,
to
Yeah.
expect that to where that is.
Theoretically, they've already been grandfathered that height up in that area.
Well, they have an
Well,
over.
whatever height that they're at now, which I'm assuming is like 45 feet.
There's a problem with the zoning that was adopted for the mall, is
Okay.
they never adopted the map. So they called it an overlay district, but nobody remembered to also change the map to show where it is. So I don't know whether I want to touch that or not with this 10-foot pole, but there is no overlay district for the mall.
Right.
So if you don't address it, I mean, just.
I want to address
You've
it.
got to somehow.
Yeah,
find
I
a
just,
Soft way of addressing it, you know.
maybe we can do it with, so there's a few things we have to add on to the end, which are, and that's a 2/3 vote along with.
But if they're sewered, they don't have an on-site system. Does that take the overlay district pretty much out of the equation? Or you still have runoff from the roofing part?
No, they have, the overlay district's there, it's just that map.
Okay, all right.
And it's very footprint oriented. It's not the whole place. So the only other place that's grandfathered for height, I think, if it's grandfathered, is it's still by special permit. It's the where they would have put the hotel.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
It's kind of piecemeal together a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
so what I was getting at is that the adult entertainment overlay district actually.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. We're talking about, thought you were talking about a water overlay district. But you're talking about the.
The water, they're like, they've got like a slightly higher density than what would be allowed, but it is grandfathered. It's done. And they intend to actually add more green space in there. So Krista's here, but she hasn't, I don't know if she has anything she wants to add. We're trying to look at it from, I've downloaded all the attorney general comments from all the other towns that have been reviewed, which is getting on to about 15 out of the 40 or so that have adopted it. And there's a lot of comments about, how it fits in. And one of them has to do with the adult entertainment overlay district. So I have in the end here that we would probably need to go back into that portion of the bylaw and add a buffer, which is what the AG is saying to people. So if, let's say we build one of these residential condos down there, let's say there is one, then if somebody came in with an adult use district, right now, there wouldn't be a mandatory buffer. There's so many feet away is something we don't have in there because we never contemplated it being adjacent to a residential zoning district. So I think it makes sense. So I was just saying, let's put 500 feet like we did for marijuana. But we can change that, but that's why that's at the end. And then I was looking into the 2 other overlay districts, the mixed commerce overlay district and the mall overlay district, which both fit into that same area, as well as the marijuana district. And we'll probably have to go in, marijuana might be built in, that it has to be so far from residential. But the mixed commerce, where I'm looking at is there's a part of the bylaw that says that anything next to an existing residential use. Just the idea that anything next to a residential use has to have a buffer anyway, but I just want to bump that up a little bit.
No.
So that is the only place where it doesn't fit into the commercial districts themselves. It's just a standalone. Commercial next to residential has to have a buffer. So those are the things the Attorney General is looking at. And those are separate from the overlay district itself that are 2/3 vote, whereas the overlay district itself is 51%. So we're just into the little, the little details about how the buildings face the front of the road, how we articulate the buildings. And I've literally given the 40R design districts, and I went up to the archives and took down all the stuff, all the notes from the working group that did the 40R overlay design districts, to go through that and parse out anything that might be relevant that we can add to this. But other than that, it's just a site plan review. So all it does is it say, planning board is still the site plan reviewer. We want to follow the site plan review process. We're having a by right, either residential or residential mixed use building. And that's all that this does. It doesn't say commercial and all that, but all that that's already allowed underneath stays there. It's just that these little overlay districts, I have to sort of go through with a magnifying glass and a fine tooth comb. But it's just site plan review. And it just says, you know, the bylaw provides enforcement for, and we're saying that we would try to be starting within 45 days, which is typical a review period. And the site plan review has pretty extensive language in it in terms of what we look for. And I brought it with me to show you that there's like almost 20 different things that we contemplate in site plan review, which is a lot. And they're looking at even making site plan review part of the zoning bylaw. But we require that they give us the names, what's going on with the butters, full plans with elevations and perspective drawings, erosion control, traffic flow. All of that is something that we can ask for in our standing site plan review. And then we have to find that it's consistent with the bylaw, complies with the criteria, is designed compatibly with the surroundings, meets accepted design standards for functional structures, is not going to create adverse impacts to sanitary, storm drainage, public water, street system, sidewalks, or residential developments or recreational facilities, where adverse impacts cannot be mitigated by such services and facilities. They're supposed to do something off-site to provide capacity if they can't do it on-site. And no other adverse impacts. So we have a pretty beefy site plan review process in here already. And then we can even ask for some additional information if we feel we need to. So I didn't think we needed to add anything to our site plan bylaw. So I just referenced that section instead of we didn't want to borrow from what others have. So you'll see that's highlighted on page like 4 of your handout, or 3 or 4. The uses that would be permitted are sort of, we're kind of thinking we should just be saying whatever's allowed underneath, and mixed use residential or residential, and not complicate things.
Now, you've got a cross reference. I think I see what you're trying to say. So all of this is allowed, but then you're adding the residential to the sub-district B, right?
It's allowed, it's required in both. So it says, as of right, you can do a mixed use building, which has residential on any floor. And then in That's what it,
Yeah, yeah.
and then number two is just the other, by the way, the other district says the same thing.
Okay. I think
But the cross-reference is not tidy because we're trying to figure out whether we even add any of these, like, types of ground floor uses. I'm not sure that they're appropriate. I think we just say, why are we listing any is your question. Sub-district A is Marion Drive. And in Marion Drive, that's all industrial and commercial. So we're thinking we need to add stuff to Marion Drive side that's more compatible with a mixed-use residential building. So in there, we're saying, well, okay, you could have a bar, you could have a gym, you could have a restaurant, you could have offices, but we're trying to pick things that we want to be in a mixed-use apartment building or condo in the Marion Drive side, if the buildings are mixed use. They can always just do whatever's allowed in the underlying zoning, but we don't want them to do the underlying zoning, which is like automotive repair shop, and then have apartments over.
Yeah.
So that's why there's anything going
A
on.
little
in here.
nuance in there, you gotta read
Yeah.
through the lines a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's the part that we're struggling with, but we're getting there. And the first list we had was from the boilerplate estate stuff, and that's like as if you took Cohasset's downtown and it's got all, pharmacy and like little tiny limited square footage, no more than 4,000 square feet. And we were like, well, that's kind of that's like our downtown next to the train station in Hingham or Cohasset, where we're talking about underneath in an industrial park, what would we want? And maybe a restaurant, maybe alcohol or someplace that has darts and pool and, someplace people can go to the gym.
You
that
have
kind
more
of-
space, you have more
Get a bigger building.
bigger reach also from the marketing standpoint, which, yeah. I mean,
Got all the commuters, but there are some. that
yeah,
would Stop.
it wouldn't be a bad area for some of those things that would bring in, would help both industries.
Yeah, but on the mall side, we're like mixed use. I don't even think they want to do a mixed use building, and I've asked them, and they're supposed to let me know tomorrow. But we're basically saying you're allowed to do a mixed use building and use any of the allowed uses underneath. But because we're adding a buffer to adult uses, that won't be allowed mixed.
Right.
It's complicated.
I'm sorry. As I'm rolling through with my training wheels on, I'm seeing that
Yeah.
the road is bumpy.
But it's only those little tweaks at this point, like the rest of
Right.
it, we think we've got it. Just pretty much following the existing bylaw, and then when you get most of it, you'll see like there's 6 pages of or 4 pages of off-street parking and development design standards, and that's where we're wanting them, the professionals, to give us their opinion. That's where we've given them the 40R design district stuff, because we've already approved the 40R stuff, and we've already had a working group, and we've already had peer review and professionals and Thorndike and everybody, even though it was 20 years ago, it was still pretty well established and well-respected set of design standards. So we're asking them, should we just reference that instead of being, kind of parsing out all this detail? So it's a moving piece, and what I thought, we go over with you for your reactions, and then we could think about meeting again. I don't know if you want to see the next iteration of this, or what we're gonna do. Like I said, we're gonna talk to them all tomorrow, and then on June 10th, the planning board's gonna see it, and we could do a joint meeting where you guys come to that. It's at 7. But then we wouldn't have to have another special meeting, and that would be where we
It's good,
talk
it's good
about.
for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, the double up. No, I mean, I think a joint meeting would be.
This meetings is better.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a joint meeting would be the next step, because at that point, I mean, you and the department will have everything sorted out.
and the mall will be there, I believe.
That makes a lot of sense. If we could do it, whether it's, you think like July,
Well,
End
no,
of June?
because we have to finish by the
you
end
know,
of
it's
June.
June 10th?
I got great news though. I got great news on Friday. We're the only reason there's a fall town meeting. And that's okay. So we'll be.
There'll
the
be,
only
I'm sure there's
reason
gonna be
people
other
come.
reasons
There will
too.
be other reasons.
But other things will be added on.
Yeah.
But that they're looking at November, so that gives us a whole month to get the feedback from the state before the warrant closes, instead of like a few weeks. So if the state comes back with edits and we have a little more breathing room, but my goal was to try to either approve it and send it off to HLC on June 10th.
Oh,
And get an early feedback, and then we can work with it.
so obviously we're waiting on a lot of communities to have a fall town meeting. Are we anticipating, well, we don't know if there's gonna be October or November, so we have what we have to work with now.
Yeah, right now we're aiming, we were planning on a mid-October make-believe fall
Sure.
town meeting
Yep.
date, and working backwards, we have to finish the draft zoning by the end of June.
Okay, and then,
Because the state takes 3 months or 88 days to review.
so we have our fall town meeting mid-October, late October, something like that.
So now it looks like it'll be mid-November instead, right before the next.
We vote on that. There's a hunting season right in the middle there. That's a very.
Oh, that's
Right,
pretty
Saturday.
good.
That's all right, young.
If that-
Bambi
Well,
will
we
live
can do it
another
Monday.
if
year.
that's opening day in New York,
We could do a Monday
I will
night.
not be there.
Like other
No.
towns, it doesn't have to be a
I
Saturday.
know, no, we'll figure it out. This is one weekend a year. I told people I can't be there for my own child's birth, and I can't be there for a wedding. So,
Yeah.
so eight town meetings, I'm not in the
Your
top five.
dad showed me one of the cartoons where it's like the wife, she said, hey, do whatever you want, this is all about our relationship, and the cartoon is he's hunting with his buddies.
Yeah, he's who I am, who I am, so anyways, but no, we have some time to also to like see how the state's gonna react to some of the other towns.
Yep.
Right, weigh it, see, 'cause I don't know about you guys, but past week, there's been a lot of talk about the MBTA zoning for the first time since 2 years ago. I mean, it's been like some talk,
Yeah,
like, here and there, but because of it's all been town meetings, Marshfield was obviously a big like spark.
Yeah.
People have been going, like, and there's been a lot of negative, there's been a lot of negative chatter, but we get to say no to this, we gotta say no to this. I'm
it'll
trying,
be interesting to see how Wednesday goes with the governor.
I'm very interested to see, I mean, so I think for the first, from my perspective, for the first time, the ball's kind of gone back in their court a little bit. Like, it's now on you, springtime meeting session happened, what's your response gonna be? Because their response slash with court's decisions, because some decisions might be, maybe not, in the summer, who knows what the court is, but like, we have a little bit of time, right? We're in a great spot because we have a little bit of time, but I keep telling people like, I don't think anybody at this table, I don't think anybody in town knows if they want to vote yes or no yet, because we don't know what the stakes are. We don't know the stakes, but we have to keep pushing forward. So we're in compliance with something that the legislation has passed.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I just want to jump in. The mall is looking, I think, at this as a, something that would be able to spark their redevelopment as a tool. They may or may not use it, but that's also going to be important on June 10th. They're going to come with some graphics. I think it's either the 10th or the next meeting is June 24th. Because that one graphic we sent around that VHB prepared, where VHB was asked to try to show worst case scenario, they replaced them all with all apartments. What does it look like? And they took away the mall, put the apartments, and the mall's like, well, wait a minute, that's not what we're doing. We're like, yeah, but it had nothing to do with you. And they didn't even know that, that
just
you might.
theoretically,
Yeah, so they were like, well, we want to come with some graphics that show that here's what we are thinking, so that people aren't thinking that they're voting for the mall to be demolished.
Yeah.
So, I think that will help people frame what we're looking at, and if we do have the support of the business owners, because one thing that's different about Kingston compared to a lot of these other communities is we know that it's not a bad spot to put it.
It's not.
No.
The problem is that, if somebody comes to town, and this is what I've asked them, and does site plan review, even though there is no water and there is no sewer, let's say they come in and they do site plan review and they get approved, they could buy in to maybe the sewer, and nobody can buy into water because there is no water, but what my concern is that the water, we don't have a way of articulating, well, you can only get so much water per year and everybody else has dibs, you know? And if this happens to all the communities where it's by right and they all come in and they get preemptive approval so that someday they could build, there won't be any water for anybody else to build anything anywhere on the South Shore. And we've asked that question and they're like, oh.
Yeah.
So anyway.
There was an article in the Globe the other day where they basically pointed out that a lot of towns are doing the same thing we're doing. They're engineering the overlays so that it can never really be built. You know, we're zoning for it, but we're making it almost impossible for it to be built. The economics just don't work.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's gonna cause a backlash
Well,
on
this
the
will,
state's part, where they're gonna say, we're not gonna accept these plans, you gotta come up with something that can actually be built. You think that could happen?
no, because the
No?
guidelines that they've issued are
Yeah.
not possible to fulfill. So the law was poorly written
Yeah.
and the design guidelines are poorly written, but they're forced to. But I mean, apparently they wrote the legislation at midnight before Governor Baker signed it. It was the
Yeah.
first time it ever appeared.
Mhm.
And then
They
they
do
don't-
have the chance to go back in the legislature, change it. which is
Right.
what we're hoping for them to do.
But
Because-
the three bills that were gonna change it were not made out of committee.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just, I would like, I do think people should know. Not that anybody's gonna watch this, but I think people should know that like. The power is not in the governor. The governor has some sway on this whole thing, obviously, it's the governor. But legislators, and I do believe they did not vote on what they knew that they were voting on.
Right.
It changed after that, but as legislators, can go back and you can fix this. And so, yes, I hope the governor and the lieutenant governor, especially because she comes from a smaller city, municipality,
Yeah.
understands this stuff, will understand where people are coming from. And go back and make this an equitable situation for everybody, because. At the end of the day, if it's gonna be. a Situation where, you know, we're in the unknown of what they can do to us. We are probably in the best position in the entire state to adopt it. And just let it be, because we have a good partner with the mall, there's a good overlay, you know, like this is a good district. It's the place that this thing
We have-
will and also probably should happen anyways.
It is the exit ramp.
It is the exit ramp, like everything's kind of like, we're lucky, because. We, even if they say, you know, what I mean, you're gonna lose school funding, whatever, I mean, just throw it out there. We could still pass this and still get away with it. I think the question from a lot of people's standpoint right now is, you know. The ethical standpoint of what other towns are going to do, should we stand with them, blah, 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 blah. It's like, we don't know yet, and we have to worry about Kingston, you know, I'm not Marshfield, I'm not Milton, I'm Middleborough, I'm Kingston.
And we're not like some of the other, like some of the stuff in the Globe, what they're saying is that the communities could have put it anywhere. Their train station doesn't exist, they're adjacent communities. And so those communities are doing something similar in terms of, well, let's put it in an industrial park, because they don't want to go to their residential community and say, we're putting it here. But we're not doing that out of a conniving, like, you know, hey, let's prevent it from being zoning by citing it here.
In the actual
We
zone.
have to put it here because there's no other choice.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it naturally falls right exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah.
In an area that also should be redeveloped, which is within the mall. I mean, you know, or should be refocused, rethought of, you know,
Yeah.
whatever the hell, but, you know, to make sure that it continues. But. Yeah, we're in an interesting spot, I mean, just, you know. We're not in a bad spot, though, we're probably in the best spot, especially the South Shore.
I think so.
I think so.
because the timing to get an extra month, heading into the fall, we'll have plenty of time to make any changes we think we want to make before the warrant closes. And before we hold the public hearing,
So when do we have to have a public hearing on this?
sometime before town meeting, so
Sometime
October,
before time, okay, so it's not gonna happen before it goes to the state, okay.
no,
For October, though.
yeah.
You guys have to sign off on it, planning, right?
Well, there has to be a public hearing on any zoning article before town meeting. It can literally be the morning of town meeting, but that's usually not done. But without that, the town meeting can't take action.
We'll just take, we're gonna vote on whether the vote favorable or unfavorable on the. So that's all we do, right? Planning?
You have a public hearing and you make a recommendation. to
That's a
town meeting.
recommendation.
Right, but it's your article, so you're gonna be recommending.
You
Um,
have to sign off on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's not really, we don't really sign off on it, but we give our opinion.
yeah.
For a spirited debate.
So what do you think about maybe a joint meeting on the 10th of June?
I think we should do that and get it over with, you
Do you think, so is that the appropriate time, or is it 2 weeks after that? I mean, is that like the June 10th is the,
I think it's fine, because I've already done here's why we picked these districts, and here's what we're doing, and we've done certified or email tracked mail to everybody that would be affected by it already. And then we'll just mail out the actual language to them, but there's no public hearing until. Like,
In 2 weeks, you'll be ready for the planning board, you think? In 2 weeks?
Yeah, because tomorrow I'm meeting with them all,
Okay.
and we'll go over some of the details of, kind of the nitty gritty. And Jason's gonna be a part of that meeting, and we're just gonna walk through it with their architects and their design team. And
Yeah.
then, this is sort of Jason and I imagining what would be on the bottom of a, like I said, in the industrial park. And we're gonna look around for other uses but it seems like what we're getting, phone calls I'm getting are from the property owners, how many apartments can I get there? So,
so June 10th.
that's a Monday night.
Your crew is gonna be,
It sounds like it, yeah, I mean, it's not like you can talk to those, but,
Well, it's that same.
Yeah.
Worksheet, and, idea would be that, they think they might have graphics either the 10th or the 24th. If it's just site plan review, it's cross-referencing what we've already written and not adding a lot of information. It was really the shape and the location that was.
when do you have to submit by again?
July 1 was our target to just barely make an October, say 24th special.
Okay,
Now we've got like 3 more weeks at the tail of that. And what happens is that gives us 2 or 3 weeks before the warrant closes to make adjustments.
okay.
Some of the towns going into their town meetings are getting feedback from the state the day of town meeting or the night before town meeting, and they're having to change the language on the floor.
That's fun. That's a blast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's happening
that
to
goes
a
well.
couple of towns, so
never goes well.
we'd rather not be that town.
No,
If we can get it done sooner rather than later, and we have that extra time, I don't know for sure, because it is hunting season, but if I'm 2 thumbs up for more time, but if it does end up in October, we'll just make it.
right, no,
And nobody's like, they're all like, what do you mean you have to have it done now? I'm like, I have to have it done now,
yeah, yeah. Well, in November, so it does give us time, to see, because there's gonna be these other time meetings in October.
That's true.
I mean, just to be fair.
Yeah, because all the ones that have voted it down may bring it back, but I mean, I've read quotes in another newspaper article that ran over the weekend. I think it was Patriot Ledger. And they like literally showed all the maps, including ours, of exactly where the districts would go. And they're like, here's where it'll show up in your area and all over the South Shore. And they literally picked up our PDF and printed it along with everybody else's of what they're doing. And then there was people quoted in that article saying, I voted no now, I'll vote no again, and I'll vote no until the day I die. So I think there's some of that attitude for sure
Oh,
out there. And
Rightfully so, too. I mean,
yeah,
I get it. I mean, I'm with him except for the fact that we're not gonna illegal buy it. I mean, not to say it like that, but I mean, just, you know, the opportunity, but we gotta see how the state Wednesday, meeting with the governor, how they react to some of this stuff over the next few months, if they keep pursuing, the Milton Court, things like that.
Yeah.
October, special, special town meetings for other people. I mean, we go like, I think it's gonna come down to the week or two of where the town's gonna, I mean, we're lucky in the town are gonna make decisions, honestly. I don't see how else it can. This is the summer of whether or not they're gonna crack the whip and really pursue legal action against people and pull everybody's grants, go full Monty, or are they gonna lessen?
Oh, that reminds me, there's something else I want to add to the special. I was trying to write a community one-stop grant application, because we're still eligible, because we're in compliance with this. But they've changed the grant application to, and we have residential phasing, which we would have, I have written into this would not be applicable to the residential phasing bylaw. But because we have it, we limit residential construction in the town to 70 units per year, even though we gave a variance to Chairman Crow to build that apartment complex. And because we have that in the bylaw, we're not eligible. So one of the reasons for doing this is to be eligible. And I think that we probably want to sunset that residential phasing, which is why not? We're gonna take a bite at the apple. I think we probably want to sunset that too. That's what Jason agrees, but whether or not it's sunsetted, this makes that not applicable to anything that happens under this. It's just excluded from that because it has to be, or else it won't be acceptable to the Attorney General. But we're also not eligible for any planning grants already, which is frustrating.
Sorry.
Why aren't you eligible? Failure to implement this so far?
No, we're in compliance with this, but they changed the criteria this year for the application so that if you have a phasing component in your zoning, you're no longer eligible to apply. So we probably want to sunset it. Yeah. And they also, they're requiring towns to agree to do ADA transition plan, which is new. So they're definitely adding like everything they want into all of their grant applications.
What I'd love is for some people in that arena of the Commonwealth, beautiful Commonwealth of Massachusetts, to start hiring people from municipalities.
Yeah.
I think we need a municipal voice within the state. And I think some people hope that, some of these city mayors and like that would do it. And I think Driscoll is a voice for that for sure, but I'm just hoping more people underneath that get poached out from small towns and small municipalities that actually understand what's going on at the local level. But don't we all have wishes?
Yeah.
Here's my Christmas list for state of Massachusetts. So anyways,
But that'll be part of the package, I think, that we bring to town meeting.
Yeah.
Because I think it is worth being eligible for those grants.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It's
it is our money.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It is our money coming back to us. So
yeah.
grant's a funny word. Anything else on, no?
No, I had emailed out the minutes.
I did, yeah, I was about to say, I did not see them until earlier and I didn't get a chance to read them. I mean,
I don't know if I printed them out, but I do probably have it on me.
I was looking like following what I thought. That's good on my, I don't have my
Maybe I
town,
didn't email them out.
I don't have my town computer with me, so
I
that's.
don't have my errand anymore, so I can't get everything right. Yeah, here's everybody that's adopted it in.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys, I emailed you the letter that we sent to all their owners, but I
I
have
saw
that
that,
here,
yeah.
whoever needs it. And then, well, I might not have the minutes on me, so we could just put those off.
Or maybe even, I kind of offered to do June 10th.
Well, we could do June 10th, right before,
We can get it done in June 10th.
before you
We can do it
adjourn.
on June 10th.
You can do it on June.
It's right, it's the planning board.
We can do it.
I gotta wear my hoodie and my hat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
I see the people,
from munching leaves.
yeah, there's like one photo where every person has a hat on, everybody has a hoodie on. There's a dad in the middle, yeah. Oh, okay.
So Val, I got here a few minutes late, so I'm sorry, but are you looking for feedback? I mean, as much as annotated questions here, I mean, it sounds like you're trying to finalize the language, but maybe I missed what the next step is toward that end.
We're meeting with them all tomorrow too,
All right.
and doing that online.
Okay,
Um,
and running through this language, okay, because they gave me a couple stray comments about Noah today, but it sounds like they'll touch that with you tomorrow. Quite a few of the
Great. So we'll do minutes on June 10th. And then after that, we'll figure out our next regular meeting after that, right?
yeah, I think after that, we probably skip the summer. Because there won't be anything more to talk about until like end of the summer. We could maybe hold a workshop or some sort of, because then we'll know what's going on more.
Or,
We don't.
or just, I mean, God forbid a public hearing or something.
Well, there will have to be a public.
Yeah, and
hearing.
there has to be the one anyways.
Yeah.
So. Maybe we can join those two, right?
Yeah,
Where it's kind of just public hearing workshop, get
Yeah.
everybody in a big room upstairs,
a lot of times
maybe
what,
some joint meetings, maybe get selectmen there, planning board, kind of just do a big old shindig.
yeah, what I was thinking is, what we could do is do before the public hearing, have in the fall, after the summer fun is over and if it stops raining. Like an afternoon to evening workshop where, me and, perhaps other people who could have time, but it might be just me. Hang out in a room with all the maps and copies and answer questions. And maybe VHB still has time in their contract, I don't know, to be a part of that. And we can answer questions and have, who's approved it and the lists and that kind of stuff and take people's comments and thoughts. And if there need to be edits, we can take those in and do those during that meeting. Because the public hearing, the thing is, if we have changes, there's no time for the state to re-review it. So the idea is,
That makes sense.
we've been posting all this stuff on the website and trying to make everybody aware of it. There's gonna be a TV interview with me and Keith sometime in the next month to walk through, kind of like we did the ADU bylaw
Yeah,
on just.
that's helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah, super helpful.
and I think that the mall plans on coming to maybe 1 or 2 meetings with the selectmen and the planning board to show the same graphics. This is what you guys are talking about, but this is what's really happening in the design side of things.
Is there any chance that like the state's gonna end up backlogged and they could take longer than 90 days?
No,
No, okay.
that's that's why it's taking 90 days, because they are backlogged, but they're going through. So if you think about it, there's probably their first 100 communities this spring.
Yeah.
Whereas they only had to do 12 before the fall. And they're streamlining their process, they're making tweaks to their model, and they're figuring out what is and isn't working. And so hopefully by the time they see our stuff, they're might even get, I'm not gonna say they will, but they, in theory, could give us feedback earlier.
All right, I just want to make sure we're not gonna have any like potential hiccups.
Well, I
They
mean,
want us to get it done by
You
the
never,
end of the year
never
anyway.
guaranteed.
There's no guarantees.
But they want us to get, they want us to be in compliance, they want us to get it done.
Yeah, so it's always smooth, it's always
Yeah.
smooth.
Yep.
yeah. All right, so we'll aim, I'm gonna aim for June 10th, pull the trigger and be done with it and send it off to the state
Yeah.
if I can.
Sounds good. Perfect.
And then we can have the summer on.
That's good, because then if something does happen, we still have June 24th. We have to come back at it, but we hopefully won't.
Right.
You
And
never
that's,
said guy
that's
who
the
shot
fact
might
that,
cause trouble, you never know, so.
I mean, the two of us in one room. Yeah, we could fight
yeah,
for
that's
that.
right. But that's our drop dead date is June 24th, and if we can be ahead of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you think you may have something finance for the planning board to consider is final on June 10th.
Yeah, this is
Awesome.
almost
That's
final
what it is.
anyway.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
it's just the little mechanics
Yeah,
inside of
okay.
it. Like we'll either just scratch a lot of what's in there or tweak it.
Awesome. All right, anything else?
I appreciate everybody taking the time to come. I
Yeah,
know it's been, at times a little bit overwhelming and it's definitely not something we know where we stand on. So I do appreciate your time. I know your volunteers.
no, thank you for
Helps the town a
putting,
lot.
putting together something that either is going to be very helpful or we're going to throw away, like it's hard, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But,
That's my job.
I know, but thank you, because it's
Yeah.
important, this is keeping us
A
afloat,
lot of detail.
it's incredible.
Nobody sees the amount of time and energy that you're putting into this.
Yeah,
And it's important to realize that, there's a tremendous effort to put this together so that it's understandable and legible and, so that the public can ultimately understand it.
that's the goal. Yeah.
And one of the things we said the last BOS meeting too, was also, you already had a job. This is an unfunded mandate. Now, we did get a grant for some of it. Thank you, Krista, but, like, and so, yeah, double appreciated. Because when these things get slapped on from the king, when they drop it down onto you, and you have to do it immediately, or you lose everything, it gets very difficult, and we already have a town that is difficult with a lot to do with planning. We have a lot to do, and you've done a great job with it also. Thank you for keeping us up to speed and all the boards and committees.
Thank you.
We need it.
Very much. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Good night,
Second.
Krista. Thanks for coming.
Good
Yeah, thank you.
morning, great, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.